Okay, 3-2, that carries. I'm not, in no disrespect to you personally, obviously, I have no interest in doing that. So if you want to
Thank you.
do it,
Unless you want to, I don't.
Walter, would you like to join us?
well,
Okay.
you
I
need,
mean, no,
I would prefer
want to do it
two,
instead,
otherwise it's a
because it would
quorum
only be, yeah, I was just going to say that.
open meeting, okay? And we'll get I can just see us, three of us walking through the editorial doors without a posted meeting.
No, we would never do that.
Well,
I believe that that's the definition of red meat.
and just one of the things is that even if there isn't hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on the town, I think the other thing is people have to realize is that this is the district attorney's office. This is an assistant DA that we're wasting the time. And if you read the open meeting law, you have 14 days from the violation to have action taken on it. And I know that from my first year as being a when I was voted in as chairman, when I was just under a year of being on the board, inappropriately, if I recall. But the actions that this gentleman's complaining about are the executive session that we were improperly, if not illegally, taped. That he's complaining about that on the other side of what was discussed. Swift speech litigation, 3 selectmen from 4 years ago took no minutes, and we had to come up with this. So these are the type of things that that they're looking at. You know, are we properly posting meetings? All you have to do is ask the clerk. But yet, this is not just wasting money on the town side, but this is also your state tax dollars at work, or county dollars, or lack thereof, because real things cannot be addressed because of this stuff.
Like returning our property. But
Exactly.
anyway, I digress. Okay.
Well, let me ask the
Go ahead,
subcommittee a
Mr.
question,
Cronin.
Mr. Chairman. What is it you're going to do? Because I just want to be honest with you. I really don't want you speaking for me to the newspaper.
No,
If I want to
this
speak
is
to the
not,
newspaper,
this
I'll
is not
speak to
this is not a discussion of, this is not speaking to the newspaper on behalf of the board. This is a discussion about the types of articles and the bad publicity that they have been pounding this town with.
Okay.
And in general, John, and unsubstantiated, that they need to consider what they're doing to this town.
No,
And
that I appreciate,
a
but just for the
general-
record, I
general
don't want
discussion.
anyone speaking to the newspaper with replies for me.
No, when you go to the editorial board, let me give you an example, okay?
Sure.
A couple years ago, the blog site of the Standard Times was putting some really outrageous, raunchy kind of stuff out there about individuals. And the folks who were affected went and sat down with the editorial board, and it stopped. So it's that kind of, it's just kind of a civil conversation with a newspaper about what they're doing to a community in general, with unsubstantiated claims of reporters like Mr. Urban and his complaints to the district attorney's office, without getting into any of the real specifics. So we won't be going, we'll be treading lightly, but we will be talking to them about our displeasure with. And they can look at their own numbers and see how many people in the town of Wareham have dropped their subscriptions to the Standard Times over the last couple of months because of what's been happening.
And I have to agree with John in the respect that, first of all, I understand what he means by, I can stand on my own 2 feet and I can speak for myself. That's no criticism. But I also believe, and it's really hard to do this, I do believe that any editorial board, any newspaper, any reporter has as much right to free speech as any of us do. And if, they want to beat on us relentlessly, that is their right. Obviously, we have a right to respond or not respond. And the motion is passed, so there is and there will be a subcommittee. And I would just ask to address John's concerns and my own, that when you do sit down, that you fully, advise us what's transpiring. If we want an editorial response, as a matter of a board response, that we review it. That's all. And I agree with where he's going with that. The Constitution says you have the right to say stupid things. That's the Constitution that I defend, I respect.
And I agree with you that, with you on that, Mr. Chairman. And I think that on an editorial page, they can do that. I don't think in an article, in an unbiased or supposedly unbiased news article, that is a place for that. Now,
Yeah.
I know, and you talk to anyone in town and they say, oh, this paper leans this way, this paper leans this way. And there is a certain, I mean, like the Globe, the Herald, that type of thing. But when you have the Globe, the Herald, and the Inquirer, I think that there is a point where you say, okay,
You're right about that. Yeah, I agree with you. And we go back to my the point I was trying to make. There's a difference between a newspaper report by someone who is reporting news, biased or not, one way or the other, and someone who is actually creating the news.
That's what I'm...
And that, to me, is the ethical violation that a well-trained, well-experienced reporter for a respectable media outlet is engaging in. And that kind of activity doesn't just cost us money. I think it costs them credibility. And I don't care about their issues. I care about our issues.
Well, and I think, and you're absolutely right, because it's not only that. I mean, I told you guys of the hearing on the street name change, that this reporter actually, I thought he was there reporting. He actually got up and testified that he had been down in that area and he didn't see the sign, and actually gave testimony and then reported on the story.
Just for the record, what street would that be?
That would be Oceanside Drive.
Ah, that one.
Thank you.
So, yes, those are the types of issues that I would like to address with the
Well,
editorial.
I wish you well and luck on that, and you handle it the way you want. Just keep us posted, and I
certainly
think
will,
we'll be
Mr. Chairman.
I think we'll be all right.
Well, thank you for that good news, Mr. Sanjanet. Sorry we got way off track.
No problem.
But it was
Is there any
important.
more good news? Keep going.
Yes.
Good, good.
Wastewater contract